Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, well, thank you for attending our webinar. My name is Jason Kurgeson. I'm a cloud solutions architect with BrainScale, and today we're going to be talking about Azure Sentinel in the marketplace. So for those that perhaps didn't attend our previous webinar, I'm going to give a brief overview of Azure Sentinel. So this journey started with the demand for being able to manage, from a security perspective, the ever-expanding digital footprint of businesses, from Internet of Things to remote devices. The footprint has been growing exponentially, and the risk, of course, is that the IT professionals are not able to keep up in the marketplace. So that's where Azure Sentinel comes in. It's an intelligent cloud-native SIEM. So that is Microsoft's offering to be able to address both on-prem and cloud-based security footprints. The goal with the Sentinel was to be able to provide instant value, basically enable Sentinel, and then you should be able to, from day one, be able to add value. It's built from the ground up as a cloud-native SIEM, so that allows you to be able to scale based upon your need. So it can grow with you, scale accordingly to be able to meet your needs. And lastly, it has built into it Azure ML. So using AI, we're able to automate various processes and improve effectiveness and response time. So this is the main components of Sentinel. That includes the SIEM part of it as well as the SOAR part of it. So for SIEM, there's the ability to collect information from various data sources, again, on-prem or from a variety of cloud sources, including Azure, be able to allow for security analysts to detect, so performing analytics and hunting, investigate and create incidents and move those through to resolution, and then automate the process in order to prevent future hacks. With that, we have key components. So first, visibility. There are many data connectors that are available, many standard formats covered in the previous session, so I won't go too deeply here. But you can connect to via standard formats. You can also connect to various APIs directly, so it allows for a great amount of flexibility. The benefit here is being able to connect to Azure directly with their data connectors. Workbooks allow for you to create your own queries, your own analytics, to be able to then represent those on dashboards. So there are a lot of great examples that you can simply plug in, or you can actually create your own. The analytics uses log analytics as the back end, very powerful. So again, you have hundreds of queries you can choose from to leverage, or you can create your own. It uses Azure machine learning. So a great benefit here is that Azure has trillions of data sources from a variety of different kinds of data sources, so the machine learning is rather advanced. The benefit here is it can cut down the noise from all of the information coming in to the alerts down to creating incidents that can be remediated automatically or prioritized and assigned, all of which can be a turnkey solution once configured. The hunting part, where security analysts can provide the most value, allows them to be able to navigate seamlessly, create their own custom queries, and then can leverage bookmarks and live streams in order to be able to save relevant hunts and also be able to view in real time incidents that are occurring. Jupyter notebooks are integrated so that you can create more advanced hunting queries. With that, Jupyter notebooks allow you to bring your own language basically between the various languages available, Python, SQL, KQL, etc. This does allow you to bring in your own data sources, so this is a great benefit that Sentinel can query across data sources from a myriad of data sources, so the intelligence is able to span those and provide more relevant searches. When the hunts lead to something actionable, incidents can be created, prioritized, and assigned, very much like a support ticket, at which point they can be prioritized and then moved into remediation. A great thing about this is that they can actually trigger automated playbooks so you can automate what happens next. So if an incident occurs, you can prevent that incident in the future with the automation. As they say, hackers think in graphs and analysts think in lists. So they created a graphical interface to allow for analysts to be able to pursue threats in a visual way. And this is connected data sources across your enterprise, not limited to any particular platform. And with automated detonations, this allows for, at the machine level, for an analyst to be able to view the machine, view the IP, view incoming traffic, but also be able to see specific links such as phishing attacks, and see screenshots and see the final URLs that the links actually lead to. So this allows for a much more tightly integrated aspect of managing machines, whether they're physical or virtual. And then lastly, the ability to automate and orchestrate. This is where Sentinel shines, in that it allows you to create playbooks that are Azure Logic apps. So those that are familiar with Logic apps can apply those skills, but also it allows for a low code to no code approach to creating resolutions for a variety of tasks. So with the 200+ built-in connectors, it allows for great capabilities, and you have the power of Azure behind it. So let's discuss the how Sentinel fits in with Azure Security Center. So many have asked the question, is Sentinel replacing Azure Security Center? Do you need both? And the answer to that will come as we look at what Azure Security Center is, and then we'll compare that with Sentinel. So Azure Security Center is a unified infrastructure security management system. So the key word there is infrastructure. Security Center focuses on infrastructure, and it is able to perform threat protection and hygiene both in Azure and on premises. But one thing to remember with Azure Security Center is that it mainly is a recommendations engine. So its goal is to look at your infrastructure footprint, provide recommendations, and then from that, your security analysts can then act upon that. The question is there an overarching ability to monitor and respond to those in a more automated way? So that's where Sentinel and Azure Security Center fit together. The goal is not to replace Security Center. The goal is to be able to use Security Center as a part of the overall security footprint. So you can see here, Azure Sentinel, with its variety of services available and connectors, can encompass all of your Azure footprint, your on-premises footprint, as well as other clouds, but it leverages Security Center to do what it currently does. So as alerts and recommendations are raised in Security Center, they can be a part of the Azure Sentinel automation process. So it allows for an end-to-end approach for your security concerns. Since Security Center can focus on the physical hardware, there's significant advantages of being able to use the advanced threat protection that's already in Security Center. And we'll discuss that down to the machine level in the next slide. The great benefit here is that Security Center is well established. It has provided significant value for the enterprise. With that adoption, it makes perfect sense to add Azure Sentinel as the next level for automation. And with Azure Sentinel's ability to be able to touch the ATP in various systems, such as you can see with Office 365, Azure Active Directory, the works, it allows you for a more seamless one touch point for your team to be able to assess your overall footprint. So let's look specifically at Defender ATP with Sentinel. This has been around for a while, but now look at how it can be impacting. So let's say that you have the Defender ATP client on your machines. With that detection, it can then pass that information to Defender ATP, and at that point, it has some ability to remediate, but that alert can then bubble up to Sentinel, where Sentinel can provide a remediation on a larger scale. In other words, you can use playbooks to be able to do more and do more quickly. With machine learning built into it, this particular approach has been proven that once a malware has been detected on a device, with Azure Sentinel and Defender ATP, they were able to remediate that malware in less than 14 minutes. So that's the first case spaces. So once that pattern is detected, it can actually be much faster for if that same malware attacks a different part of your infrastructure. So you can see with this alone, this could provide a key benefit that other systems just simply do not have. One of the biggest problems today with threat protection in enterprise is that security experts will buy various systems that are isolated systems to perform certain aspects of your threat protection. The challenge there is that the data is isolated and the remediative aspect is specific to that system. Sentinel consolidates that. So in this example, you can see on with the footprint of the virtual machines or physical hardware, Sentinel can detect and respond quickly in a consolidated fashion, as compared to having to deal with a variety of systems to do so. Let's take a look at Splunk compared to Sentinel. So Splunk, as many of you know, is the de facto for data aggregation of machine information. So it was originally created to collect raw logs and then be able to take that at scale and be able to provide for analytics on that, querying capabilities, reporting, and yes, also growing into monitoring, alerting, remediation. Splunk has grown over the years, and because of that, it's become the de facto for many organizations to be the place that all logs are routed to. So with that, Splunk has acquired petabytes of information in many organizations that's then readily available to be able to do your custom querying and be able to assess threats and be able to remediate on those. But let's look at what Splunk is in this marketplace. Splunk by itself is not a SIEM, but it can be used as one. So since it is a multi-purpose tool for collecting and analyzing large amounts of information, the SIEM aspect is a strong part of their offering, but not the entirety of it. So it is a powerful tool. But with that being said, Splunk originally began as an on-premises application. So Splunk Enterprise, you would pay for the enterprise license and then install and configure in your environment, on your servers. And that has grown to now they have Splunk Cloud, very much SIEM as a service, so that you can leverage the benefits of the cloud and scaling and whatnot. So at the heart of it, it does data ingestion and analytics. From that, they've extended to allow for additional third-party services and then adding additional services. So they have available dashboards, alerts, automation, and machine learning can be integrated as well. So all of these are the similar check marks as to what Sentinel provides. But Splunk has looked at this from the perspective of growing from the data ingestion and analytics into what additional offerings they can make with it. So that allows Splunk to be very, very flexible, but it also means that Splunk can be misused and misconfigured if you're looking at it specifically for the SIEM aspect. So it's a consideration that Splunk is not a native SIEM, but it can be used as one. So let's look at the comparison of the two. So as I mentioned, Splunk has been around for a long time, and as a result, many organizations have a significant amount of data that's been ingested, and analytics have been done so that organizations have a good sense for that information being collected. From my personal experience working in various environments, Splunk oftentimes is looked as a long-term storage for logs, and the security teams can look at Splunk as a way for future analytics or tracking of incidents, but oftentimes it's not configured to be proactive. So Azure Sentinel is a new entrant into the marketplace, but with Microsoft's backing, it has a massive amount of security experience. So out of the box, those turnkey templates provide a significant amount of value. With that being said, if you think about it, over 70% of the systems that we use in our day-to-day use are in one way or another a Microsoft product. So there is something to say about the experience base that Microsoft brings with Sentinel. Both of which have a cloud-ready option. As I mentioned, Splunk has the cloud-based SIEM, and of course, Sentinel is built natively as a cloud-based SIEM. So keep in mind, since Splunk is not designed as a SIEM, it can be very powerful, and it has evolved, but it does require a certain amount of focus in order to leverage the SIEM aspect of it as is needed. Sentinel is SIEM from the ground up, SIEM and SOAR. So the goal here for Sentinel is keep it simple, keep it focused. So that's what your security analysts get. Regarding the footprint, for the enterprise, that does require installation, configuring, and management of the application on your servers in your environment. The cloud, of course, not so much. With Sentinel, of course, that's all cloud-based, so it will scale according to your needs. And it does integrate natively with Microsoft technologies, so there is a benefit there. Sentinel is a well-respected company. It is certainly the de facto in the marketplace. But with that being said, with Microsoft entering this market with a focus on SIEM, it is a formidable competitor. And from my assessment, with its future momentum, which we'll discuss in a bit, it really is a game changer. So for infrastructure, we have the on-prem and the cloud, and Sentinel can access the cloud as well as on-prem. So they have the same footprint of being able to reach. But one thing to consider with Sentinel is when it connects to data sources, it can peek into those data sources, whereas Splunk needs to actually copy or ingest that data in order to process it. So there is a slight advantage there with Sentinel, and that can lead to cost savings. So overall, Splunk has a great experience. They're a leader in the industry. You cannot go wrong with going with Splunk. But with that being said, Sentinel, with their experience, momentum, their entry price point where you do not have to pay for an enterprise license, instead pay for what you use. And of course, integrations with so many, I firmly believe that Splunk is not going to be able to compete with Sentinel in the mid to long term. So let's look at the differentiators for Sentinel. So we're going to start first with it being backed by Microsoft, and this cannot be overemphasized. So first things first, Microsoft has created one of the world's largest cloud platforms, Azure. They sell one of the most used cloud endpoints, Windows. So the integrations of those is significant. The ability to optimize with those is significant. Microsoft is actually poised to become the biggest security player in the world. With the $1 billion annual investments in cybersecurity, 3,500 global security experts, and trillions of diverse signals for machine learning, they have provided a significant advantage, and the integration of all these services in Azure with Azure Sentinel, it is formidable. It was created as a SIEM for natively. So that means simply that built from the ground up, Microsoft's looking at it for an overall experience to focus on SIEM and SOAR. So with that, Microsoft products that it ingests, there are no charges for activity logs, Office 365 logs, or ATP alerts. It does scale as needed, and the ability to store in data lakes provides you with an infinite storage, so there's no limitations there. I had already addressed the ability to peek into data sources instead of creating duplicates of data. And with that, Microsoft's expertise is included. So if you enable Sentinel, day one, you have hundreds of templates to choose from, and they're easy to implement and start using day one. And then lastly, this is an advantage that's exclusive with Sentinel is you can grow with Microsoft. So as Microsoft adds additional services, adds additional integrations, adds additional expertise, expands their machine learning models, you get that out of the box. No additional fee, no learning curve. You get that right out of the box. So there's the question of, is Sentinel there to replace Splunk? Well, not necessarily. So since Splunk is more than a SIEM, and it often is well established in organizations with terabytes or petabytes of data, not to mention all of the analytics and remediations inside of it. That doesn't mean you have to move away from Splunk. Splunk oftentimes is used for internal facing requests that can be fulfilled. So those things are still very valuable. So the question then comes with, can we use both? And so you can actually integrate Splunk with Sentinel. Sentinel would simply be another data source for Splunk. And then you can determine moving forward which tools are really the most effective ones to use. In my opinion, Sentinel does have a significant advantage regarding the machine learning aspect, the ability to leverage the models and the templates that have been created by Microsoft experts, an industry leader. I believe that you can get benefits from both of them. So legacy data, the processes, the data ingestions with Splunk, But you get the detective analytics, the automation, and the evolving machine learning, and the ability in the future to add your own machine learning models. You really could provide a win-win here. Regarding the future for SIEM, it is definitely going for the cloud. Between the existing competitors in the marketplace creating cloud offerings, you have new entrants such as Microsoft. Google recently purchased a SIEM solution, same with Azure. I'm sorry, same with AWS. And then new entrants that are creating new approaches for it. Everything is going to the cloud. The idea is to be ubiquitous, access everything. With that being said, cloud models lean more toward the pay-per-usage model, and Sentinel already offers that. Advanced AI, machine learning will require large volumes of data. So those that can provide the most amount of data, the most diverse amount of data, will have the best machine learning. And then lastly, leveraging security expertise between the machine learning models and the expert-driven templates. This is where everyone is looking to go to become experts in this space. Fortunately, Microsoft has already been a leader in AI, machine learning, and with Azure, they have such a large footprint of data that the models can learn from. They already have a significant advantage there. So if you wanted to get started with Sentinel, it's fairly straightforward. With your current Azure subscription, you simply create a Sentinel instance and then connect to data sources like Azure and Office 365 right out of the box. And then you can start to explore the built-in hunts, the automations, and the dashboards. And then you can, from that, you can see how they were created and actually create your own. So that covers session 2 in our webinar series, Sentinel in the Marketplace. I'd like to go ahead and thank you guys for attending the webinar, and I want to go ahead and open it up for any questions. And I'd like to highlight that we do have some valuable resources such as Sentinel docs, as well as the link to get information on additional webinar series. So let me open it up to any questions you have.
We do have one question here, Jason. How does MCAS integrate into Sentinel? It didn't look like there was integration unless there was a third-party API.
So I'm not familiar specifically with that one. There are 200 plus current connectors, but what I could do is I could get information on that and send that directly to you after this. All right, any other questions?
Any further questions? Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave the meeting open for a few minutes if anyone has any further questions. But again, I'd like to thank you very much, and I'd encourage you to do take a look at the Sentinel documentation as well as the webinar series. We have one additional one coming up, which is adopting Azure Sentinel. That will be a live demo, so we'll walk you through the process and show you some of the best parts of it. Thanks again, everybody.
To the person who did ask that question, you did join anonymously, so please just reach out to us with your contact information and we'll reach out to you individually to answer that question for you. Here's another one, Jason. Do you provide managed security services?
Presume that means BrainScale specifically. We provide end-to-end Azure consulting, so that does include consulting and also implementation regarding security. So yeah, we'd love to talk with you, find out what your specific needs are. We could certainly either point you in the right direction or provide managed services for you.
That's another one that joined anonymously, so please reach out to us and we'll get back to you individually on that.
One thing I will add to that is that one of the things we're looking to do, since Microsoft is encouraging everyone to get their toe in the water with this, they've made the adoption of Sentinel very easy. We actually work with clients to just start out with Sentinel, start with the basics of it, just to try it out, and we'd be happy to walk that with you in that. So the third one's going to be us showing you that, but we'd be happy to walk with you through that in your environment as well. I think once you actually see it with the turnkey aspect of it, I think you'll love it.
Thanks, Jason. This is great.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Jason, here's another question. What are the capabilities of SOAR as in Sentinel?
So the automation aspect of Sentinel is at the heart of that. So what you can do is you can create playbooks that can automate various processes. So whether that comes from some of the hunts where incidents can be created from that, or you can go ahead and create automations directly based upon specific threats that you're looking to do there. So that automation aspect will can do actually a large number of things in the remediative aspect, as well as notifications, alerting, and whatnot. So very much like if you were to apply governance in your cloud infrastructure, where you can set your guardrails and then determine what effect you have. In other words, what you're actually going to do if that occurs. Well, inside of the playbooks, you can choose to have notifications, remediate, or escalate, create an additional instance for a different team member to remediate. So all of that can be triggered either manually or from the automation based upon machine learning that can trigger these processes.
And another one here, can you please briefly go over Sentinel pricing? I know this is something that we're going to go in on depth or in depth for the third webinar next week. But if you have any information, just as a brief overview, that'd be nice.
So I don't have that slide with me here. That actually something we're going into in the next session. But Sentinel is based upon consumption. So you'd look at it from the aspect of if you have ingress from data sources that are external to Azure's environment, the cost of the ingress, the cost of the computing, which you have full control of as far as the amount of VMs you spin up for Sentinel and whatnot. So you can actually go to Azure's pricing calculator to get started with that, and you can actually put in some actual real world numbers to see what the cost would be associated with that.
We'll give it just another minute for any further questions, but okay, I think that does it for today. Guys, we're recording this, so we'll be able to send this to everybody. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you're watching the recording of this in the future, also thank you very much. Be sure to catch the third session of this Adopting Azure Sentinel next week, April 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern. You'll see some more information from us regarding that and emails and on our LinkedIn posts. But we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.